comes to part 4 of the session. In part 3, we emphasized on Bloom's taxonomy proposed by Benjamin Bloom in 1956 that mainly focused on 6 classification of learning, namely remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. The objectives of this session, which is as far as the last session for curriculum design, and thereafter we'll be moving on to assessment. So the objectives for this session are to design a course design policy after going through sample document, to be able to design course outline after going through the illustration which I'm going to show to you, and lastly to develop curriculum structure after going through illustration. Now, as I discussed in my previous session, this session will be a practical approach to the whole thing which we have tried to understand in the last 3 sessions. So in the last 3 sessions, I have tried to give you the conceptual background. Now I am going to deal with the practical aspect of curriculum design. And let's go in for discussing all 3 documents one by one, and I will be going through the different documents which I have prepared myself along with my team during the different levels of my career, and I happen to go through all this process, which I would be glad to share it with you also. So first is the course design policy. This is the front page of the document. You go in for writing course design policy. This is mainly for the training purpose, in which year we have gone in for developing, and the name of the university or the institution. Now, why do we need to go in for designing this particular document is that before you land up preparing a syllabus, you should have a blueprint in your mind of what exactly you are going to do and how you are going to do it. So it's a roadmap of how we go ahead with designing of the syllabus. So therefore, in order to create a blueprint, we need to design this particular document. Once this document is prepared and discussed among the board of studies at the university or in the faculty council of the institution where the course is to be implemented after designing, then this document has to act like a Bible for you, and you will not deviate from this document for developing the curriculum. So let's go ahead, and you will see that this is a very, very scientifically and systematically developed document. So we went in for putting up the table of contents in which we had different headings like preamble, objectives, who are involved in developing this, what is the course structure, what is the course design, what are the learning outcomes we are focusing upon. We have also touched upon the Bloom's taxonomy, and thereafter the revision was there. So that has also been discussed in this sequencing of content. We are following a modular approach. So some will follow a unit approach and some will follow a modular approach. So in this, we decided to follow the modular approach, selecting the text and readings, selecting cases, assigning group projects and assignments, what will be the academic load, what will be the assessment policy. This will be the part of the next session. Setting course policy, course portfolio, how are we going to test, so what is our learning management system called as LMS, so we were using Moodle, what internet resources we plan to use, right? So this was the second policy which was in line, so history of this policy. So we discussed about what changes we have gone in for making in the previous policy as far as this policy is concerned. And then there were some set of appendices which I am going to run through. So let's now move on and just try to recall what we shared in session 2, mainly about what are the different components of curriculum. So just see here, the curriculum of a program is largely based on its learning outcomes. Various courses and academic activities are developed to break down the complete curriculum into a meaningful and manageable units. Now you can see this. We started with social needs, and I discussed about how IAMs were established, and then we said understanding the social need, we went in for designing a program. The program is to be divided into set of different functional areas, wherein I was talking about finance, human resource, marketing, and then each functional area needs to have subjects, and each subject needs to have separate units. So these units have to be interpreted and follow one another in a logical way. Some units are essential for all students to help them understand the core of management, while the other are optional to provide flexibility to the students in their learning and growth. A course is a complete, cogent unit that brings an instructor and students together, wherein the instructor facilitates the students to achieve learning outcomes of a course. So just see how we have started by developing the preamble of this particular course design policy, and by reading it you will come to know what exactly we are going to discuss. Now once you go through these paragraphs, and I will request the coordinators to provide you with a copy of this. See these objectives. What were the objectives of this particular course design policy? The objectives of the course design policy are as follows: to implement the curriculum by developing detailed plan for different courses, to develop a learning contract between faculty and students, to integrate and organize various courses, to facilitate collective involvement of faculty in design, development, and delivery of curriculum. Who are involved, right? So in university, it is basically board of studies. So what are who are the different members in that board of studies will be the part which university is going to decide. At the institution level, this is how we decided. So the responsibility for syllabus development is that of area. So marketing area will develop their subjects, finance area will develop their subjects, uh, right? And the director, along with different activity heads, shall have the responsibility for monitoring, review, and revision of this particular policy. Then it goes in for designing, discussing about course structure. What will be the structure of the course? So we said that each course, when we are saying course, basically it means the subject. Say for example, financial management, marketing management, or quantitative techniques. This is one subject. So we are talking that one course will comprise of 24 sessions of 75 minutes. That means in a trimester where this course was getting implemented, each subject was having 30 hours allocated to it. So in 30 hours, a teacher is required to complete the course. Now 30 hours was involving 24 sessions, as one session was for 1 hour 15 minutes. That means one period which the teacher used to take in the class is for 1 hour 15 minutes. So this is discussed that we are going to follow a session of 75 minutes, and each subject will be for 30 hours. So then we talked of course design. Course design is a creative and collaborative process. How we are going to design the course that is initiated by faculty members on the basis of syllabus of a course. Each and every component you will find in this particular document, that it illustrates and clearly defines of who is going to do what. Nowadays the focus is on learning outcomes, so we emphasized on learning outcomes, and then we talked of the Bloom's taxonomy, which I discussed in my previous session. And you will find that through this particular course design policy, I'll be talking of another taxonomy, which was development of a revised Bloom's taxonomy. So it was revised by Rothwohl and Anderson, but was basically based on the revision of the Bloom's taxonomy, which was developed in 1956. So in 2001, a revision of Bloom's taxonomy was given. So through this document, you will be able to understand that revision also. So this we already discussed, that Bloom's taxonomy was talking of classification of the learning into 6 different parts, and this we have discussed in detail in our session 3. Now over this, Rothwell and Anderson said that we would focus on factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. So that's how they started revising. And one thing which is very important to understand is, while developing learning outcomes, you must take care of the words which you use. Say for example, if you're talking of remembering, then these types of words should be used to identify, to label. The student should be able to list the following things, right? The student should be able to recall the definition and dates, So that is how you are going to use the words for developing your learning outcomes, which I'm going to showcase to you when I'm talking of a course outline as an illustration in point number 2. So these are the 6 type of classification which we discussed, and these are the words which we should be focusing upon while developing the learning outcomes in our course outline. Now you are going to discuss about different things which you are going to do when you are going to implement this course. So these are the references which we use to develop this course. Now let us focus on the appendices, because this is going to become the basis of our discussion for point number 2. Whenever you are going to develop a course outline is a contract between a teacher and the student of how you are going to deliver the course to the students. It is not that we one fine day we get up and we go into the class and deliver anything. Nowadays, teaching has become very scientific, and the student is interested in knowing about what you are going to cover in the first class, what you are going to cover in the second class, and what you are going to cover in the last session, right? We also have to plan our lectures in such a manner that for every hour we have to maintain our speed, and for every hour we should be very clear of what we are going to teach the student in that particular class. Now, this is unlike what we have been doing till now, or many of us have been doing till now, that whatever we used to think is important, we used to teach that particular topic in the class, or we were going through the syllabus and then then going by each and every topic in the syllabus, we were covering the syllabus. When you develop a course outline, it is not necessary that you go in for following the sequence of the syllabus as it is given, but you can also go in for developing the sequence by your own, so that the sequence which you are creating is logical and you are able to unfold the content of the subjects in the class, which is having a good sequence, which are interlinked, and the students are able to get the things easily from your side. So the topics which are correlated with each other should be covered together, right? Now that sequencing from the syllabus you can always do. Secondly, if we talk of university systems, it sometimes takes years and years to revise the syllabus. So in that case, what you can do is you can always go in for creating a course outline where the syllabus of the university becomes the subset of your course outline, and your course outline can have recent advancement in your subject which you can add as a separate unit, or you can have 5 to 6 sessions especially on the latest trends which are there in your subject. So no one stops a teacher from sharing anything new in the class. The only thing is students should realize that their course is getting covered, and the teacher is able to give something new so as to update the knowledge of the students in the class. And this is very important because in professional courses, student has to be updated because he has to face interviews by the employers. So we cannot say that it is not in the syllabus and therefore we have not covered. If it is not there in the syllabus, as teachers we can always go in for developing a course outline which is over and above that particular syllabus given by the university, and we can go in for adding few more topics which we think are important for the student from present day context point of view. Now, this is the structure of the course outline, which I'm showing it to you, because then I will be coming to the actual course outline. So you go in, this is a template. So institute name, program, term, academic year, right? Who's the course instructor, write your name here, how many credits course it is, the number of sessions which you are going to use. This is like this basically. This course credit has to come together. Then you discuss about course overview, learning outcomes which you expect, pedagogy what you are going to follow, text and readings which are suggested by you, separate references apart from text, what you would like the students to read, what internet resources, And nowadays, when we are talking of internet resources, we are also putting up what MOOC courses they can go through. So that I will show it to you in our syllabus of Bharati Vidyapeeth University. And then you go in for discussing session wise of what topics you are going to cover. Now this is an assessment. So what different types of assessment are and how much weightage is given. And this is what I was talking of, that module wise you then discuss what all topics are there, and session wise you are going to give the topics and what type of pedagogy you are going to follow. This will be more clear when I am going to show you the actual course outline in just 1 or 2 minutes. Now this is a course audit form which you must use, because when we are talking of learning outcomes, so you must evaluate yourself and your course which you have developed, how many number of learning outcomes you have tried to achieve, assessment of the percentage to individual assessment. So you can go in for having individual assessment like class test or quiz, and you can also give a group assignment. So how much is the percentage which you are focusing upon individual assessment of one student, and how much percentage you are focusing upon the assessment as a group. So if you are trying to have a sentient group, sentient group or study group, which I talked of in the previous sessions, then you can also come to know what is the percentage you have allocated for that assessment also. How many cases have you used in case your subjects require cases, how many Indian cases have been used, and how many foreign cases have been used. This you can specify so as to bring in the foreign component also, number of exercises which you are planning to use, number of sessions by the outside practitioners which you have tried to develop, right? Now this is an audit form which has to be submitted at the end to the program office of your institution, or you must keep it to yourself to understand what exactly you have been able to do in your course. Now, why these types of formats are important? These are very important as far as NBA accreditation is concerned, because the experts would like to come and see how you are trying to deliver the courses, and whether whether there is an evidence of what you are talking of as far as learning outcomes are concerned. Now see this, this is a checklist for a course outline. So you must take care of what all things have to be put in as far as course outline is concerned. So what are the do's and what are the don'ts? This is what you are going to look for when you are going to develop the course outline. So my suggestion to you is, I'm going to share this particular whole document with the coordinators. You request them to share this document via email or any other medium which is being used by the coordinators to reach you, and then you can go through this particular document in detail. Now this is revised Bloom's taxonomy. So when you talk of remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, how Crosspohel has gone in for changing the things in terms of factual knowledge, in terms of conceptual knowledge, in terms of procedural knowledge, and in terms of metacognition. So this table you can go through, but the idea is that basics lie only with Bloom's taxonomy. So overall development, you can go through the paper written by Crothwell and Anderson to understand that those things in detail. Right. So this was regarding your course design policy. Now this is one more mapping document which is usually used by the teachers, and we suggest that they should use it, because whenever you are developing learning outcomes, you should see how many sessions you have tried to focus upon each learning outcome. Now your subject outcome should meet the program outcome, because every subject outcome is coming out from the program outcome. So all subjects taken together will then try to meet the program objectives. So when I talk of program, I'm talking of MBA or BB or BC as a program, and when I'm talking of subjects, when I'm talking of subject outcomes, these are the outcomes to be achieved by every subject which we are teaching in that particular course, and overall all subjects should be able to take care of the outcome of that particular program. So you should go in for mapping it also. How many sessions you have used for achieving learning objective 1, how many sessions for learning objective 2, in which module, which type of learning outcome is being used, what study material or exercises you are going to use to achieve that particular learning objective, and finally, how you are going to use the assessment component to assess whether that learning outcome has been achieved or not. So this is a very important thing which we must take care of, because when we are trying to achieve learning outcomes in the class, ultimately we'll come to know once we are able to assess them and find out whether that type of learning outcome has really been achieved by the student or not. Then you must also go in for developing some rubrics. So rubrics is basically a blueprint of what all you are going to assess, assess as far as that particular exam is concerned or a project is concerned for the students. So you will find numerous rubrics for your subjects. If it is a presentation, what are the rubrics to be used? If it's a role play, what are the rubrics to be used? If it's a project, what are the rubrics to be used, right? So you just go in for typing rubrics for that particular thing which you are trying to assess on the Google, and you will get lot many samples, and then go in for preparing a rubric by your own which is more suitable for your course and your students, understanding the level of your students. So this is one document which I would strongly recommend that each teacher and each participant of this training program should thoroughly go through and should also keep it. And whenever you are planning to design a course curriculum, first develop this type of a document. We now move on to the second point, that is to be able to design course outline after going through the illustration. So I showed you the I showed you the template for course outline. Now I'm going to show you the actual course outline. So this is the actual course outline which you can see. So first is the course overview, and just see when you talk of course overview, basically what you are going to discuss in that course, what is the importance of this course, and what type of learning outcomes you are going to overcome. You try to communicate everything to the student by writing a course overview. So this course overview component is a very important component as far as communication between a teacher and student is concerned. So why your course is important, what exactly your course is going to do once a student goes through it, right? So just read this particular paragraph. So it suggests why business communication is important and what exactly it is going to achieve after you have gone in for completing this course. And then what is module 1 focusing upon, what is module 2 focusing upon. So module 2 focuses upon critical thinking and discussing skills, so the whole module is emphasizing on this. Module 3 is dealing with gaining a winning edge in group discussions. So this is what we are going to focus upon, how people are going to talk to each other in groups. And this is also related to group assessment. Module 4 lays emphasis on honing the presentation skills. Now this is a group assessment also, and this can be an individual assessment also, right? So module 5 dwells on writing clear, concise, and effective business letters. So this is a practical aspect of this particular course. So this is how you have to first of all give a overview of the course which you're going to teach. Then we talk about what are the learning outcomes this course is going to talk about. Now this is where those words are to be used which I was talking of in the previous course design policy, when I was talking of Bloom's taxonomy and revision of Bloom's taxonomy by Rothkohl and Anderson. So you need to go in for writing your learning outcomes very clearly, and this is what is LO1, LO2, LO3, which was being discussed in the last table of the course design policy. So let us read it. The course aims to build up students' oral and written skills to communicate effectively and efficiently in real time business situation, On successful completion of the course, the student will be able to, now what they are going to achieve by going through this course, exhibit an understanding. So when you talk of an understanding, this is a lower order thinking skills which you are trying to develop an understanding. So it is again talking of understanding of Bloom's taxonomy. Write clear, concise, correct business documents. So we are somewhere talking of now creation of the documents. Understand and effectively use non-verbal communication. So again it is understanding and some creation. Give effective oral presentation. Now they should be able to create something here and think critically to enhance communication and problem solving skill. Now this problem solving skill will bring in their evaluation and analysis skills. And if you ask them to prepare some document, that will then be taking care of their higher order thinking skills, and at the end they are able to create something which should be the objective of every course. So you can ask them to create a movie related to a particular topic which you are going to discuss, and they should be able to record the presentation by voiceover recordings, and that will help them create something related to this particular subject. So that's how we go in for developing the learning outcomes which have been shown in this particular document. Now just see, these are the modules. So we have discussed module 1. We are going to give 2 to 5 sessions. Each session is for 75 minutes. Module 3, what is the amount of time we are going to devote, and that is how 5 modules we are going to discuss about the timings which we are going to give. And it is given 17 to 22 sessions, so remaining 3 sessions will be based for presentation and role plays, whatever the faculty has decided to implement in the class. It also clearly tells what type of evaluation criteria the faculty is going to use. So class participation has been given 10% weightage, reflective notes 10% weightage, quiz 10% weightage, assignment 10% weightage. Then midterm 20% weightage, and end term 100%, sorry 40% weightage. Total comes out to be 100%. Now this is an agreement between you and the student. So university usually gives a fixed structure, but at an institutional level where they are having their own autonomy like IAMs, they go in for giving this type of evaluation criteria to the student. Then you go in for giving the text and the references. Textbook is what you are going to follow in the class. References is what you want them to study in the library over and above the main book which you have given them to study. Now see this. Session 1, what I am going to do. So I'm going to basically have an ice breaking exercise, try to understand the student, try to tell them what this course is all about. And from session 2, I am going to start discussing different topics of this particular course. Now, it is very important that when you're talking of the different topics, you must also tell where the content is for that particular topics, because there are some institutions which also give book kits to the students, or if you are asking the student to refer a book in the library, then you should be giving a clear instruction to your student of which all pages are important as far as this topic is concerned. Now see the last column also. So when we are talking of second session, what we are trying to achieve, we are trying to achieve learning outcome 1. So just see, we have started mapping the learning outcomes, and learning outcome 1, if you go above, see here, exhibit an understanding of some of the basic principles of effective business communication. So this learning objective is being tried to achieve in our second session. Similarly, in third session, again we have focused on learning outcome 1. Then when we are moving to session 4, the focus is on learning outcome 4. And similarly, you go in for discussing different sessions, but keep an idea before you enter into the class of what exactly you are going to achieve in that class, or say 3 to 4 classes of that particular week. Gone are those days when we entered the class unprepared. Now if we move unprepared, the student will not pay attention to us, and we are bound to face different types of discipline issues in the class. So the more organized you are as a teacher, you will find the more responsive students are in your class as far as teaching is concerned. So I will also share this document with you. Just see how systematically this document has been prepared. Going for giving your name, where is your office, first floor, second floor, give your intercom number, give your email ID for better connect with the students. Which room number do you go for teaching that particular class, right? Because in case of university, infrastructure may be a constraint, so a particular room may be specified or a set of rooms may be specified on the timetable. Go in for writing this. uh, you go in for giving the details of the website, if you are having some website or a section of the website of the institution, what are your office hours, and sometimes you also like to specify the meeting hours with the student. So that's how you professionally behave with them, and that's the type of conduct which we expect from the teachers. So once this is done, now we move on to the curriculum structure. So what I've tried to show is we started with the blueprint of how we are going to develop the course. So we go in for writing all the steps. Then I showed you one example of the course outline which emerged from that course design policy. Now once all the subjects have been developed in that way, then you start compiling the content of that subject and you start preparing your curriculum. Now just go through this curriculum of what all it is having. So it talks of title. This is for Master of Business Administration. Nature and duration of the course. It's a full-time postgraduate degree program of 2 years, approved by AICTE. So then it gives an introduction about the university, rationale for syllabus revision, why we are revising this syllabus, what is the vision of this MBA program. Now, what are the objectives? This is basically program objectives which we are talking of why we want to, why the student should go through MBA program. The program aims to improve business decision making capabilities of upcoming managers by enhancing their analytical skill, right? And this is what was the social need in 1950s when the planning commission decided to establish IIMs, right? So just see how this is linking to the social need. Basically we are trying to fulfill this particular need of the society by training our people. So MBA General Program outcomes and learning outcomes, which should be there after the student goes in for covering this course. So these are learning outcomes of the program, and related to this learning outcome of the program, we go in for creating the learning outcomes of a course, right? So learning outcome of the course should be in line with learning outcome of the program. That is how things are getting interlinked. So these are some of the outcomes which we had discussed. Then eligibility, what is the structure of the program, how many credit program it is at, and now every university is following a choice based credit scheme. So all these things which we need to tell to the student of what we are going to have in the program has been specified in this. Now one very important thing which is also becoming the basis of the discussion for the next session is, when you go through the syllabus, it is very important that you also go through the assessment of assessment scheme for that particular program, because with the upcoming of the grading on the mark sheets, I find that there are many teachers who doesn't understand the grading at all. And sometimes we say you pass the student in the internal and pass the student in the external and he will pass, and we don't know what is the definition of passing there, right? So this is what I observed in my institution, and I had to go in for training my teachers as far as assessment is concerned, right? So just see the syllabus in the beginning, about 15 to 20 pages are very important in the syllabus, because it tells us about the structure, it tells us about the assessment, it tells us about what all reports are involved in this particular course and how the reports have to be taken care of, right? And just see here, in the syllabus itself we have also told what will be the template of the question paper that we are going to follow, and our questions will be based on testing the conceptual skills, So first 5 questions on conceptual skills, and the next 3 questions will be based on application of the concepts. So these two things have been taken care of, and that's how we go in for planning the structure of the question paper also. What are the distribution of the credits semester wise? What is the component of university exam? What is the component of internal exams? All this has been given, right? So this is how the structure has been given. Now I show you the content of the subject also. From here we develop the course outline. So this is the content. It gives you course objectives. It gives you learning objectives. It goes in for giving you the content. So from here we go in for developing our course outline by giving it a proper structure under the different headings that we discussed in course outline. Right, so we have started involving online resources. We have started talking of MOOC courses where the student can go and choose for a MOOC course. The teachers are also asked in the class to share the MOOC courses which the student should undergo, right? So just see this. So we talked of splitting the course into different subjects and dividing each subjects into units. Now you can see that particular structure here, right? So this is the practical aspect which each teacher must understand as far as curriculum design is concerned. I will give all 3 documents to the coordinators, and I request you to go through all 3 documents very carefully, and this will help you in designing the curriculum if at all you are asked to design a curriculum at given point of time in your life. And as you progress and become more senior, a day will come when you have to go in for implementing all this as a teacher. So that was part 4. I hope you enjoyed this. Now go ahead with reading them carefully. I had time constraint, so using that time constraint I have been able to cover up this particular part 4. Thank you very much.